A critical evaluation of the physiological, adaptive responses and nutritional needs of the performance horse in training. Dressage is an intense equestrian sport, widely recognised around the world. It is seen as the art form of equestrianism. Training a dressage horse is complex, and correct muscle tone will need to be developed in order for elite-level training to be completed. Physiological adaptations occur in the dressage horse during training. These adaptations include the musculoskeletal system, the cardiovascular system, and the respiratory system. The overall fitness and condition of the horse will increase with training, making the horse more efficient, allowing maximal performance. Muscles in the dressage horse adapt to acute and chronic demands. An example of an acute adaptation would be exercise. Exercise uses skeletal muscle in the dressage horse. Many muscles are used adapting to the different dressage movements. An example of a chronic adaptation would be age and nutrition. An older horse may be more susceptible to the loss of muscle tone and condition. A balanced nutritional diet can help the development of muscles in the correct places, along with a well-established training regime. Muscles are made up of bundles of fibers that are attached to bones. Within the muscle fibers, filaments of actin and myosin are what make the muscles contract when they slide over each other. Sliding filaments require ATP as chemical energy. Type 1 muscle fibers are slow-twitch fibers which contract slowly and are used for long-duration exercise without fatigue. These fibers are high in mitochondria density that present a high oxidative capacity. The main type of muscle fiber used in the dressage horse is type 1, but occasionally type 2 muscle fibers are used for short bursts of energy. In most large muscles in the horse, there is a good mixture of fiber types, but they can be altered with training by getting bigger or the composition changing. Parameters that are affected by training include heart size, stroke volume, heart rate, cardiac output, blood flow, blood pressure, and blood volume. The increased size of the heart allows the left ventricle to also increase in size, which will mean a thicker wall for a better heart contraction. More blood will be passed through the heart as a result of this. Endurance training increases stroke volume at rest and during submaximal and maximal exercise. With training any horse for any discipline, the resting heart rate will decrease. During recovery from exercise, the heart rate of a performance horse should drop to 60 beats per minute or lower after 10 to 15 minutes. An unconditioned horse may take longer. The cardiac output is the amount of blood pumped out of the ventricles. If the heart mass is larger and the left ventricle wall is thicker, the cardiac output should therefore be greater. This is a significant indication of fitness in a performance horse. Blood flow increases with training. Muscles in a performance horse are continually developing with training and conditioning. These muscles require a good blood flow. The increase in the number of capillaries ensures good blood flow. During exercise, blood flow is directed to where it is needed, and reduced at places such as the digestive system, where it is temporarily not needed. A summary of cardiovascular adaptations to training. The left ventricle size and wall thickness increases. Resting submaximal and maximal stroke volume increases. Maximal heart rate stays the same or decreases. Cardiac output is better distributed to active muscles and maximal cardiac output increases. Blood volume increases, as does red cell volume. Resting blood pressure does not change. Blood pressure during submaximal exercise decreases. Limitations to performance. Marks explains in a presentation focusing on the pre-purchase examinations of jumping horses and dressage horses that when purchasing a horse for both jumping and dressage, it is important that the individual is physiologically fit for purpose. A number of limitations to performance, such as conformational faults, injuries, signs of lameness, surgical scars, degenerative diseases, and other potentially adverse problems will be highlighted in a pre-purchase examination. The ability of the respiratory system to transfer oxygen efficiently to the arterial blood and to remove CO2 from the mixed venous blood is of vital importance to the horse. Dressage horse will be mainly using their aerobic capacity and occasionally reliant on their anaerobic capacity. The dressage horse will work aerobically and anaerobically at optimal performance. Oxygen is needed in large quantities for any exercise, but the horse's muscles have a storage of fuel that, combined with oxygen from the blood, can produce energy for aerobic exercise. For periods of anaerobic exercise, systems of energy metabolism create ATP. In trained horses, equine skeletal muscle has a high capacity to store glycogen. There are three main metabolic pathways for ATP manufacture. These include glycolysis, which is the main anaerobic pathway, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. In the process of glycolysis, oxygen is needed to generate energy in the form of ATP. Glucose is turned into the pyruvate molecule. During muscle contraction, the ATP is used. The processes of glycogenolysis, glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain all supply the muscle cells with ATP energy. Creatine phosphate supplies energy until ATP is produced from glucose or glycogen. Glycolysis is a process of glucose being turned into pyruvate and then lactate. 2 ATP molecules are made from each molecule of glucose metabolized within this process. The lactate, created during muscle contraction, must be removed correctly to reduce damage to muscles. The results of a study by Lovell and Rose found that warm-down periods enhance clearance of lactate from skeletal muscle. They also found that lactate may be utilized as a substrate by muscle during recovery from exercise. The Krebs cycle follows on from glycolysis to create more energy for high-intensity exercise. From the Krebs cycle, products created feed into the electron transport chain, thus creating more ATP energy for the working muscles of the dressage horse. At least 50% of the dietary needs of the dressage horse should be fed in forage. The correct feeding of a dressage horse, either in training or competing at a high level, is essential for the well-being and energy requirements for the animal. The energy requirement of a dressage horse competing at a high level will be greater than that of a young horse in training. Concentrate feed is fed according to the workload, weight, and age of the horse concerned. Enough energy should be fed to keep the impulsion in the arena, but not feed too much energy that undesired behaviour is experienced. Fats and oils provide a horse in training with an important energy source. This is an efficient way of feeding energy because feeding fats and oils increase the availability of energy available. Therefore, less energy can be fed for maintenance or workload. This feeding process may be suitable for a more excitable horse. Protein is vital for development of muscle. Amino acids, which are the foundations of protein, have to be supplemented in the horse's diet because the body cannot make sufficient quantities to meet the requirements. A dressage horse needs the correct daily intake of carbohydrates and fatty acids for normal bodily functions, the production of hormones, and the absorption of some lipid-soluble vitamins such as vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. Both carbohydrates and fatty acids can be used as substrates for aerobic transduction. To conclude the evaluation of the physiological adaptive responses and nutritional needs of the performance horse in training, it is advised by supportive scientific literature that not only physical conditioning of the horse, but the nutritional requirements also play a large role in the quality of optimal performance of an individual horse.